My name is April Isom. I'm 38 years old, and for most of my adult life, I've been the person everyone calls when their life is on fire. You know the type, the one who just happens to have a little extra, the one who understands how hard things are right now, the one who can be guilted with a few words like, "You're doing so well, you're lucky." That night started like any other exhausted evening. My kids were finally in bed, dishes stacked in the sink, laundry still sitting in a basket I'd been ignoring for 3 days. I was half watching some forgettable show on the couch, the kind where the plot is just background noise so you don't have to think too much. My boyfriend Mark wasn't there. He was working late, but we'd been texting back and forth about stupid memes and what to cook this weekend when he came over. He's the first man in my life who didn't see me as a resource, but as a person. That's probably why what happened hit me so hard. Up until then, I still believed I could be both things, the strong, independent woman and the convenient family safety net. My phone buzzed against my leg. I glanced down, expecting another text from Mark. It wasn't. Bank alert, purchase, $1,772.34 at jewelry store name. I frowned. Jewelry? At almost 11 p.m.? I sat up a little. Probably fraud, I told myself. That would have been the good scenario. I opened my banking app, already mentally preparing myself to call the bank, dispute the charge, do the responsible adult thing. While the app spun and loaded, another notification slid down over the top. Bank alert, purchase, $1,408 at another jewelry store. My chest tightened. Then another, $912.40 at a clothing store, $380 at a restaurant, $76.10 for an Uber. And that was just what I saw without scrolling. The TV stopped existing. The house went quiet in that way, where even the refrigerator hum feels too loud. I stared at the screen, waiting for my brain to catch up to what my eyes were reading. Then I remembered the text I'd brushed past a few hours earlier, when I was baking cookies with my youngest. "Hey, Aunt April, I used the card for something small. Hope that's okay. Lily." 15-year-old Lily, my brother Jeff's daughter. His baby girl, as he liked to call her, the one who deserved nice things even when he couldn't pay his own car insurance. I had seen that message and barely thought about it. My hands were covered in flour. My kid was asking if we could add extra chocolate chips, and I'd just assumed she meant a coffee, maybe a t-shirt, something trivial. I hadn't replied. I thought I'd answer later. I thought I had time. Now, staring at over $500 to $800 in transactions, I could feel my pulse in my ears. "No," I whispered, as if I could make it unhappen by refusing to accept it. "No, no, no." My mind began rearranging scattered memories like a cruel slideshow. Jeff begging me to add his name as an authorized user on one of my old backup accounts, just in case something happened. Him promising he'd only use it for real emergencies, that it would help them get back on their feet. "We're family, April. You know I'd never take advantage of you." I used to believe him. Another notification came through as if to mock me. "Your balance is below threshold." I stood up so fast the remote fell off the couch. My first instinct was to call the bank and scream. My second instinct was to call Lily and demand to know what she'd done. But somewhere underneath all that chaos, I heard Mark's voice in my head, the way he talks when I'm about to go nuclear. "Breathe first, think second, then move." I sat back down and did the opposite of what every muscle in my body wanted. I opened the banking app fully, scrolled through each transaction, and started mentally cataloging everything. 2 high-end jewelry stores, 1 upscale clothing store in the city, an expensive dinner, rideshare charges. Not an emergency, not groceries, not school supplies, not survival. Luxury. I swallowed hard, my eyes burning. My thumb hovered over the contact list where Jeff's name sat, just begging to be called and shredded. But instead, I went to settings on the app and did the thing I should have done years ago. I froze the card, then the account. Then I went through and changed the login details, revoked every linked device, turned on every alert they offered. I moved what little money remained into a brand new account at a completely different bank, one Jeff didn't even know existed. By the time I was done, it was 2 a.m., and my living room felt like a crime scene. Not because of what some stranger had done, but because of what my own family had. I opened my messages to Mark and typed, "April. Lily drained the backup account. Over $5,800. I froze everything. Mark. Are you okay? April. No, but I will be. Mark. I'm calling you. I'm calling." He called immediately. I picked up and heard his steady voice on the other end. "Hey," he said softly. Talk to me. What happened? I told him everything. The messages, the charges, the way my stomach had dropped. There was a pause when I finished. Okay, he said finally. You did the right thing freezing it. Don't call Jeff tonight. You're angry. He'll twist it. Sleep, if you can. Tomorrow you decide what you want, not what they expect. That last part lodged itself somewhere deep. Not what they expect. What I want. I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house breathe. And underneath the anger and the disbelief, something else was starting to form. Something harder, sharper. Not just how could Lily do this, but how did I let it get this far? I'd spent years patching up Jeff's mistakes, lending him money, covering late bills, letting him use my car for a few weeks when his broke down. A few weeks that turned into months. Giving his daughter things I never had when I was her age. I thought I was doing something kind. Somewhere along the way, kindness had been rebranded as obligation. At 7:20 a.m., the sound that jolted me out of bed wasn't my alarm. It was a man yelling. I moved to the window and pushed the curtain aside. Across the small stretch of street, I saw Jeff storming up and down his porch in a wrinkled t-shirt and socks, clutching his phone and barking into it like someone had set him on fire. Even from here, I could tell he'd just seen what I'd done to the accounts. His wife, Rachel, hovered half behind their door, like she wanted to disappear into the frame and pretend she wasn't there. I stared for a second, numb. This man's daughter had just robbed me blind, and he looked like he was the victim. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. I didn't need to check the screen. I knew. I let it ring once, twice, then I picked up. What the hell did you do? Jeff roared. No greeting, no pause. Lily's in tears. You froze everything. She said you humiliated her. Who does that to a kid over some shopping, April? There it was. No apology. No. Is it true she spent that much? No attempt at understanding. Just rage that his access had been cut off. I waited for him to stop shouting. This time I didn't rush to fill the silence. I want everything she bought, I said calmly. My voice surprised me. Every single thing. Jewelry, clothes, whatever. Today. He sputtered. Are you serious? She's upset. You made her feel like a criminal. You have money, April. You can afford this. Why are you being so cruel? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't explain. I'd done enough explaining for a lifetime. 3 hours, I said. Bring everything, or I start treating this like what it is. Theft. Then I hung up. My heart was pounding, but underneath the adrenaline was a strange new calm, almost like relief. For the first time in years, I wasn't bending. 3 hours passed, then 4, then 5. No knock at the door, no apology, no bag of jewelry. At 6:12 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text. Jeff, we'll bring it after dinner. Don't make a scene. I stared at those words for a long moment, letting the irony sink in. Don't make a scene. From the man who'd been yelling on his porch like a wounded animal that morning. I showed the text to Mark over video call. He just gave me that look, the one that says, see, this is who he's always been. At 7:04 p.m., I saw their car pull into my driveway. Jeff stepped out first, dragging his feet like he was being forced to attend his own execution. Lily came out behind him, arms crossed over her chest, a designer shopping bag dangling from her hand like it weighed 100 pounds. She didn't look ashamed. She looked annoyed. Jeff didn't meet my eyes when I opened the door. He shoved the bag toward me with a dramatic sigh. There, he said. Hope you're proud of yourself. She's been crying all day. I ignored him and opened the bag right there on the porch. Inside were a necklace, a pair of earrings, and a ring. I knew the amounts by heart already. Even without the receipts, I could tell at least a few items were missing. Where's the rest? I asked. Lily shifted her weight and looked away. Jeff cleared his throat. She gave one to a friend, okay? And she can't find another. It's not a big deal. It's not like she bought a car. They're just a few things. A few things. Thousands of dollars worth of few things. I didn't bother arguing. I took the bag, stepped back inside, and closed the door in his face. At my kitchen table, under the harsh overhead light, I laid everything out and cross-checked it against the purchase history on my laptop. The missing items glared at me from the screen. Circled amounts that no longer had physical objects attached to them. In my periphery, my phone lit up again. Mark, how did it go? I typed back with shaking fingers. Partial return. Some things lost or gifted. I'm done playing nice. Then, for the first time in my life, I did something my family would never see coming. I opened the family group chat. My mother, cousins, aunts, Jeff, his wife, and I told them everything. Lily spent $5,832.47 on my account last night. She returned only about $2,800 worth of items. Several things are missing. I'll be returning what I can to the stores. I expect either the remaining items or cash equivalent within 48 hours. Also, Jeff is still driving the car I loaned him when his broke down, and he still owes me $2,400 from last spring. I'll be taking the car back this weekend and expect repayment by the end of the month. I'm done being his financial safety net. This isn't personal, it's survival. I hit send, set the phone face down, and for the first time in years, I chose my own peace over their comfort. I had no idea how ugly their reaction would be, or how much truth it would drag out into the open. The first family reply came faster than I expected. Mom, April, this is unacceptable. You didn't have to make a public spectacle. She's a child. If your father were still here. I stopped reading. Of course. No asking if I was okay. No asking if I had been robbed, violated, blindsided. Just another reminder that I should shrink myself for the sake of family harmony. But I refused to shrink this time. My phone lit up over and over, a digital hailstorm of messages from cousins, aunts, even people who barely spoke up in group chats. Some were demanding context, some were confused, and some had the nerve to ask if I was exaggerating. Then Jeff chimed in. Jeff, so this is how you repay us? Over a couple grand? You're disgusting. You always wanted to turn the family against me. Congratulations. You're out. I stared at that message for a long moment, not hurt, not angry, but genuinely stunned. Out of the family? For not letting a teenager drain my account? For demanding basic respect? Before I could respond, my phone rang. Amanda, I muttered, recognizing the contact. My older sister was a firecracker wrapped in soft silk, sweet until someone tried to hurt someone she loved. Tell me everything, she said as soon as she picked up. I did, and I heard her breathing change. Slow, steady, controlled. The way it always did when she was preparing for battle. Okay, she finally said. I'm going into the group chat. Amanda, it's fine. You've carried Jeff for years. Time for the truth. I didn't argue. I didn't have the energy. 30 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't guilt or accusations. It was shockwaves. Amanda, everyone needs to calm down. April has covered Jeff's rent twice, paid his car insurance, lent him $2,400 last year, gave him a whole car when his broke down, and bought Lily a new laptop. She didn't go public. She simply stopped being your doormat. Then she sent screenshots. Actual evidence. A payment app transfer of $2,400. An old email from me offering Jeff the car. A photo I'd sent Amanda months earlier, Lily cheesing in front of her shiny new MacBook. Then silence. A silence so heavy it almost had gravity. One cousin replied first. Jenna. Wait, Lily is 15. She wasn't confused. She stole. Another cousin added. Honestly, Jeff, this is embarrassing. April has helped you more than anyone. Then came something I never expected. A private message. From Rachel, Jeff's wife. I'm sorry. I didn't know she spent that much. Jeff told me it was just a small thing. I didn't ask questions. I should have. I see now how wrong this all is. I can't speak up publicly. He's unpredictable, but I agree with you. I stared at that message, the quiet hum of my refrigerator, suddenly impossibly loud. Rachel wasn't weak. She was surviving. And now, for the first time, I saw her more clearly than ever. The next morning, the first thing I did, before breakfast, before waking the kids, before breathing, was gather every jewelry item Lily returned. I triple-checked each store's return window. 2 upscale stores, 14-day return policies, no questions asked. Perfect. By 11 months sur my name. a.m., I was in the car, March chill creeping through the windshield. I made every return, one by one, the clerks giving me polite but judgmental looks as if I were reclaiming stolen royalty. The final amount refunded? $2,800 and a few cents. Half of what Lily had spent. Half that simply vanished into the abyss of lost and given to friends. I drove home with the money in an envelope, deposited it in a brand new savings account at a different bank, and felt, for the first time in days, a sliver of control sliding back into my life. By noon, I sent Jeff one final text. Car pickup is scheduled for Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m. I want the remaining balance or missing items by the 30th. Any communication not about repayment will be ignored. He left it on read. Good. Saturday morning came cold and gray. I stood in the driveway wearing a coat over my pajamas, coffee steaming in my hand. A tow truck pulled up right on time. At 10:06, Jeff's car rattled loudly as he pulled into my driveway. Half on the grass, half on the pavement, like even his parking choices were aggressive. He hopped out, shirtless, wearing sweatpants and no shoes, like he wanted to look as chaotic as possible. "No need for the tow," he shouted, theatrically slamming his door. "Here's your precious car. Stop playing the victim." I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The tow truck driver opened the back, hooked up the vehicle, and Jeff strutted down the sidewalk like a martyr returning from war. As soon as he was gone, I opened the driver's door. The smell hit me first. Stale weed, old fast food, and something swampy that made my eyes water. There were cigarette burns on the seats I'd once kept spotless. I almost laughed. This was the man who accused me of being dramatic. That Monday, things got worse. I stepped outside to take out the trash and froze. Huge streaks of red spray paint screamed across my garage door. Petty beats. My hands went cold. My toast fell from my other hand, landing face down on the concrete. My kids, God, they had seen it. "Back inside," I barked, voice sharper than I intended. "Now!" They ran in. I dialed Mark. He drove over within 15 minutes. "Cameras," he said quietly, jaw tight. "Let's check the footage." The footage was crystal clear. 2:14 a.m. A girl, small, hooded, holding a spray can. Lily, recording herself, laughing. I felt something inside me flicker out, like the final flame of a candle. At noon, Rachel knocked on my door. Her face was pale, eyes swollen. "She thought it was funny," Rachel whispered. "Her friends dared her. I'm so sorry." "I have footage," I said, voice like stone. "Police reports filed. She needs to clean it." Rachel nodded, defeated. And 2 hours later, Lily stood in my driveway with gloves, a bucket, and cleaner. She didn't speak at first. She scrubbed and scrubbed, shoulders shaking with resentment, not remorse. After an hour, she muttered, "Sorry." I kept my voice level. "This is a consequence, not a punishment. Don't repeat it." She swallowed, nodded once, and left. That night, Jeff sent me a voicemail. I played it on speaker for Mark as we sat at my kitchen table eating leftover lasagna. "Hope you're proud," Jeff snarled. "You humiliated my daughter. You made her scrub your garage like a criminal. You turned the family against me. You are petty, April, and you will regret this." Mark pressed pause. "April," he said softly, "this isn't anger anymore. It's obsession." He was right. Jeff wasn't done. The next day, he spread lies like wildfire. That I staged the graffiti, manipulated Lily, and forged the transaction amounts. But this time, the family didn't take the bait. "Jenna, you're a grown man blaming your daughter's theft on the victim. Enough." "Uncle Ray, April carried you for years. Stop digging deeper." Then, the shocker. "Mom, Jeff, I'm disappointed. April has done more for this family than anyone." And then the final blow. Rachel spoke up publicly. "Rachel, Lily made a huge mistake. Jeff has made many. April did what any of us would. I should have said this sooner." After that, no one defended Jeff. He vanished from dinners, stopped messaging, faded like smoke. 3 weeks later, Rachel came to my house alone. She handed me a check. $2,400, signed by Jeff. "I made him," she said quietly. Then, after a moment, "I'm thinking about leaving him." I didn't say, "I understand, I didn't have to." She saw it in my eyes. 2 days later, Amanda called. Her voice was tight. "April, last night Jeff was drunk at Mom's. He said he's going to ruin you." I closed my eyes. That was it. The final line. The final warning. The moment everything changed. I hung up and went to my desk. I gathered everything. Texts, voicemails, screenshots, bank statements, the garage footage, the signed check. And I called a lawyer. I walked into the lawyer's office with a folder so thick it barely closed. Years of enabling, months of insults, and weeks of escalating threats compressed into neat chronological order. If only trauma were that easy to organize in real life. My lawyer, a calm, silver-haired man named Mr. Dalton, read silently for nearly 10 minutes. Every few moments he paused, eyebrows twitching as he scanned screenshots, receipts, messages, and the freeze-frame photo of Lily spray painting my garage like she was tagging her name on a street corner. When he finally looked up, his expression was firm. "Ms. Isom," he said, "you have more than enough for a restraining order." Hearing those words, spoken so plainly, so officially, did something to me. A part of me that had been bracing, curling inward, shrinking for years, loosened. Until he said the next sentence. "And frankly, you should get one." I sat back in the chair, my hands tightening around the folder. People think standing up for yourself feels empowering. loud, cinematic, triumphant. Sometimes it feels like drowning. Sometimes it feels like the moment before a car crash. That awful suspended second where you know nothing will ever be the same. Mr. Dalton kept talking. You have bank fraud, harassment, vandalism, escalating threatening behavior, and verbal intimidation. These aren't isolated moments, they show a pattern. A pattern. God. Hearing someone else name it out loud shook something inside me. For years, I had excused Jeff's behavior as stress or bad luck or moodiness. I convinced myself he'd grow out of it, settle down, get better. But some people don't get better. Some people get worse when you give them everything. I nodded slowly. Okay, let's do it. His gaze softened. Good, you're making the right choice. He slid the restraining order paperwork toward me. It felt heavier than paper should feel. I signed. The aftermath begins. When I walked out of the building, the early afternoon sun felt unfamiliar, like light I hadn't stepped into in years. I sat in my car for a long moment, hands on the wheel, breathing. Not shaking, not crying, just settling. I called Mark. It's done, I said quietly. He didn't speak for 3 seconds. He was that kind of man, the kind who lets words land before responding. How do you feel? He asked. I looked out the window at the street, people passing by, going about their ordinary lives while mine felt like a chapter was closing in real time. I exhaled. Free. Mark's voice warmed. You deserve that. My heart tugged a little. God, I was not used to someone saying those kinds of things without wanting something in return. I'll be at your place tonight, he said. We'll make dinner, something good. And for the first time in weeks, maybe years, the idea of simply eating a meal without tension felt like a luxury. The silence before the truth. News traveled fast in my family. Faster than logic. Faster than common sense. Somewhere between the courthouse parking lot and my living room, the group chat lit up in its usual chaotic storm. Mom, April, your sister said you filed something. Is everything okay? Cousin Sarah. Wait, are you serious? Julie. Good. About time. Jeff's been unhinged. Then the message I'd been waiting for arrived. Rachel. I heard. I need you to know. I support you. Just that. No punctuation. No emojis. Simple, raw support. It meant more than she knew. I typed back. Thank you, truly. She replied. Things are bad here. I'll update you. Please stay safe. Her words sat heavy on my chest. I wanted to help her, but everyone has to choose their own moment to escape a sinking ship. The return of peace. That evening, after I picked up the kids from school, after homework and dinner and bathing and bedtime stories, I walked into the garage to throw out the trash. The door was spotless. Every trace of Lily's vandalism was gone. The cleaner had done its job, or maybe Rachel had come back later to finish what her daughter started. But that wasn't what made me stop. It was the quiet. No dread, no buzzing phone, no threats, no chaos. Just silence. The kind of silence that comes after you finally shut a door that should have been closed years ago. I leaned against the cool metal surface and closed my eyes. This wasn't victory. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even justice. It was something simpler. The first breath of my life where I wasn't holding anyone else's weight but my own. A message I didn't expect. The next weekend, while my kids were at their father's house and I was folding laundry with Mark at my side, him making jokes about how socks mysteriously disappear because the dryer eats them for energy, my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. I wasn't taking chances. When the notification popped up, I played it. It was Jeff. His voice sounded different, hoarse, strained, broken around the edges. April. I know you won't pick up. I know you're done. And maybe you should be. He inhaled hard. I never thought you'd actually leave. I thought you'd always be there. I took advantage of that. I won't bother you anymore. Then, quietly. Yeah, tell the kids I'm sorry. The message ended. I replayed it once. Not because I wanted to hear his apology, but because I needed to confirm it wasn't a manipulation tactic, a threat, or another explosion waiting to happen. But it wasn't. It was the sound of a man realizing he'd finally run out of rope. Mark looked at me gently. What are you going to do? I shrugged. Nothing. Good, he said softly. That chapter's over. And it was. The end. And a new start. A month passed. Life settled. Bank accounts stayed stable. The car stayed in my driveway. The family group chat quieted. School projects, bedtime routines, date nights, and Sunday laundry filled the spaces where stress used to live. One morning, while getting breakfast ready, my daughter tugged on the sleeve of my sweater. Mommy, she said, you're smiling more. I froze. Kids always see the things adults hide from themselves. I knelt beside her. I guess I am, I whispered. She hugged me. I like it. I hugged her back, heart full. Later that day, while standing alone in my clean garage, sunlight spilling in from the open door, I realized something. For years, I mistook endurance for love, silence for harmony, sacrifice for loyalty. But in the end, boundaries were what saved me. Not revenge, not anger, not giving them what they gave me. Just choosing myself. And when I finally let go of being the family's safety net, I became my own.